Welcome to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, the ultimate resource for business leaders that need a boost in their revenue and business growth. I'm your host, Kerry Curran, and with over 20 years of marketing agency experience driving client business growth, I now run RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, where we help businesses like yours effectively scale revenue and growth. Learn more today by checking out revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. So today's special episode is Research-Driven Strategy, how valuable industry insights build brand credibility and drive demand, with our special guest, Linus Gregoriadis. He's the director and co-founder of London Research. Now, if you caught my popular previous episode, Original Research, Your Secret Weapon for Game-Changing Business Growth with Megan Lavin, you'll know that I'm a strong believer in original research to help position your business as an industry leader by bringing fresh insights and data that can elevate your brand and empower your clients. Because a data-packed paper can be a treasure trove of insights to fuel your content strategy. So in my conversation with Linus, we discuss insights on how companies use research to stand out in crowded markets, to establish thought leadership, and to support lead generation. Our conversation highlights the power of blending qualitative and quantitative data to create valuable content and deliver targeted insights, helping executives elevate their go-to-market strategies with data-driven approaches. So welcome, Linus. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Hi, Kerry. Good to be here. So I'm managing director of a business called London Research. My background is originally as a journalist, but the last 20 years or so as an analyst writing about all things digital marketing and e-commerce. And London Research is part of a business called Demand Exchange, which specializes in lead generation and a lot of syndication of content. And London Research is the content arm of the business.
Great. So Linus, you and I have worked together many, many times over many years, working on lots of research that's provided value. Everything from why should I invest in Amazon or how do I invest in Amazon and why was our original paper we worked on together back media. in 2017. 2017. And then since then, we've covered multiple topics from the digital marketing landscape, media buying, including programmatic and digital out of home, and also more recently, the affiliate marketing space. So I know you and I both are huge advocates of original research papers for just building awareness, building credibility, kind of giving that more content to share and promote to build the brand perception. So talk about from your perspective, what are you hearing, or when you're talking to your prospects and your brands, what are they talking about when they call you and are interested in partnering for original research?
I think a lot of organizations we speak to, that they're really trying to differentiate their voice in often quite kind of crowded marketplaces. Yeah. They want to be, it's a bit of a cliche, but they want to be thought leaders in a particular area. So we help them really develop and tell their stories.
Mm-hmm. Great. And so when they're coming to you, like what are their goals? You talked about thought leadership. Are they looking at you mentioned lead generation or building a business case for investment, or what are some of the other types of or goals that they're coming to you with?
It's generally a mixture, Kerry,
Mm-hmm.
of branding objectives, so kind of top of funnel
Mm-hmm.
awareness, and also a lot of it's driven by lead generation. That's partly a function of our sort of bigger business being able to deliver market qualified leads. So lead generation is definitely part of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal is to help them produce content that gets them well known and established, or even better known in a particular area,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's, I don't know, retail media or affiliate marketing, or marketing technology, marketing automation, and any topic really where they want to get a bit more uh, traction.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about there's so much content and demand for content in that in the buying cycle today, especially for B2B, and they're spending more time trying to find out which partner really offers what they're looking for, or what the solution is, or who's very credible. So it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity to use this type of content and original data that really can help a brand stand out kind of in their entire content strategy and their go-to-market presence.
Yeah, I mean that's really well summarised. There's some trends sort of happening in the background, which I think are leading to companies put more of a focus on some original, authentic content. One
Mm-hmm.
is the Gen AI, and there's
Mm-hmm.
so many articles, so much content and noise out there, which can often come across as pretty sort of samey and inauthentic, and a lot of it is just kind of regurgitated information that's already out there. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess the more savvy companies realizing, no, we need something original with its own, with a clear voice, proprietary data, some new insights to, so we come across as a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another trend is the fact that, as for example, as B2B buyers, we're doing a lot more research online, and
Mm-hmm.
quite often there's some quite sort of well often quoted statistics about
Right.
70% of the buying journey is completed before someone speaks to a salesperson at an
Mm-hmm.
organization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and companies realize that without that kind of great content out there, they're not going to be part of the conversation. They're not going to make it onto a long list or short list,
Mm-hmm.
unless they're being seen as providing kind of useful information, um, to ensure that they're under consideration.
Right. And so I know in the papers where we've worked together in the past, the goals that I had on the business side were just that, to stand out as um, a leader in the space for our buyers, but also to serve as a tool. My goal was always that they would take the paper and go to the buyer, or the executive holding the purse strings or control over where the investment went, and say, look at this data, like this is what we need to be doing, this is, and ideally this is who we need to be doing it with. But to your point, it really serves as that tool to kind of, as I think you've said, kind of cement the reputation of the brand and stand out and start that relationship for that buying journey.
Yeah, it can be I guess, a sort of softer way of getting people's
Mm-hmm.
attention rather than a very kind of over salesy approach. You've got some interesting, hopefully stimulating content and information which can help to start a conversation, and potentially also provide good evidence that what you're
Mm-hmm.
advocating is a worthwhile product or service for them to invest in.
Right. And I think what the approach that I've taken in the past, that, you've helped us with is comparing data points of gaps with, this is what your target audience is doing, but this is what, you and your peer set might be doing. And so, like, what we've mostly done in the digital marketing media investment side was demonstrated the gaps between where consumers were going and engaging with content or choosing their purchase or looking for inspiration to converting versus where media planners were prioritizing, and barriers, and again kind of really getting to that target audience and what their business challenge might be, or how can they improve their business, with a little bit a shift in investment,
Mm.
based on kind of the knowledge that and experience that we've had. So I know, especially over the years that we've worked together, I think I got more and more prescriptive with what I came to you with. But for
Yeah.
brands that are kind of newer to that, like, what are the considerations, or what should they kind of think about or come to you with, when they're ready to invest in research paper?
Yeah, just firstly to what you were saying there,
Yeah.
we love that research we did as a case study because it was a good
Hmm.
example of research. We had the consumer research and what consumers were doing and thinking, their attitude and their behaviors versus
Yep.
what businesses were doing, where marketers were investing, and we were able to shine a light on that gap, and then with
Hmm.
our insights and recommendations would point companies to potentially a better way of doing things, which obviously coincided with your objectives as a
Yep.
business without sort of compromising the kind of integrity of what we're doing as independent researchers, but everything aligned pretty well there. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, to your question, I think for any business that's looking, as I say, to establish its voice in a particular domain or area, proprietary research can be, I guess, a great way of getting a more of a foothold
Yep.
in that market, being seen as thought leaders. So when companies come to us, sometimes they have like you did, they have quite a clear hypothesis of what they want to
Hmm.
the research to be about, and they want us to kind of validate that this is a problem or challenge,
Hmm.
and that there may be some certain ways of overcoming that. Other times, companies will say, we want some great content to help us stand out, and then we'll say, well, we'll ask them, what does their ideal customer look like? Who's
Hmm.
the content being aimed at? And when we may suggest some different types of content, maybe something more sort of top of funnel around trends in their in an area which is in their kind of wheelhouse in terms of the products or services that they're selling.
Hmm.
Probably also suggest something a bit more lower funnel in terms of content, depending on where they've got the gaps.
Hmm.
And we may suggest kind of buyer's guides or the business case for doing a particular piece of research. We produced a report for Adobe recently on the case for B2B personalization, which is
Hmm.
that's mainly focused in the background, commissioned by the kind of Adobe Marketo side of the business. So there's some sort of marketing automation elements there, some sort of B2B customer journey optimizer elements kind of feeding
Hmm.
into that.
No, that's great. So do you kind of guide them to look at their market differentiation and across their competitive set and kind of what else is out there as well?
Yeah, I mean, quite often it might align with their sort of roadmap as a business. So
Mm-hmm.
perhaps historically they've been more associated with one particular area because they've grown up as a certain type of technology, but they're now trying to sort of pivot or evolve into something else, which will then
Mm-hmm.
become the the focal point of the research.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it depends on what they're trying to achieve and the ultimately the types of company and prospects they want to reach. And something
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about a lot now is the buying group, the buyer group or buying committee, and spinning out different content assets on a particular theme that's more uh, geared towards different personas in that buying group wearing different hats. So it may be the CFO and they need more of a business case. It might be the CTO and then the focus might be more around security and then some of the questions that they may have on the tech side. It might be more aimed at CMOs, the marketing people, and also perhaps different or complementary messaging for the users of a service or technology versus the people who are signing off the check, whether they're in procurement or, as I said, in finance.
This episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, is brought to you by Kriglu. Struggling to optimize your ad spend and drive customer growth? Meet Kriglu, an AI-powered omnichannel bid management platform built to fuel your business. Kriglu's intelligent algorithms automatically adjust bids across multiple channels, ensuring your ads are seen by the right audience at the lowest cost. Whether it's search, social, or display, Kriglu delivers effective, cost-efficient customer acquisition so you can focus on what matters, growing your business. Ready to scale smarter? Visit Kriglu.com, Kriglo.com, and unlock your growth potential today. No, I think that's so important to really build the value of the data and output and the paper itself, to kind of think about who your target audience is, your ICP for the business, and then make sure that what you're developing kind of gives them what they need, that whether it's the CFO, to your point, or the CMO, to help them make with their decisions and their buying process. So I know one of the big differentiators that I've seen in your papers and your research, especially when we've worked together, is one of your differentiators is really bringing that quantitative and qualitative angles to the paper and the research. Too often I'll download a research paper and it will just be data. It will be graphs with some descriptions of the graphs, but it's kind of missing something. And that's what I love about, again, your what you're producing. So talk a bit more about kind of your purpose and how you're using both quantitative and qualitative data in the process.
Yeah, I mean, in my view, they're very much complementary. I think
Mm-hmm.
qualitative research you always need, and then there's a
Mm-hmm.
decision to be made, and quite often that depends on our client's budget about whether you can do quantitative research, and then whether that's going to be consumer research or business research or both, as we've done in
Mm-hmm.
the past. In terms of good practice market research, you need the qualitative to help define the questions you're going to ask in a survey. We'll typically
Mm-hmm.
have conversations with the marketing content teams we're working with their internal subject matter experts on a particular topic. And
Mm-hmm.
we love to interview uh, different brands and companies. So when you do produce the report and say you have got some great charts and proprietary data points, you can really bring that to life with
Mm-hmm.
some talking heads in the report. Because I think when we're consuming content, any of us, it, it can take it from the sort of theoretical to the practical. You can really
Yeah.
imagine it more if someone from a company that you've heard of, especially, is actually talking about the sort of challenges and opportunities that they've had in a particular area.
Right. It really reinforces
Mm.
the data to be, yeah, a much more depth. No, I agree. I think that's so important. And that's always been a real, priority for us as well to make sure you're rounding it out. But the data, the hard data that coming from the consumers or business panels is really important to your point for the graphs and kind of getting more granular. So talk about your process in um, managing the kind of consumer panels, or how do you find the panels or building out those who to reach out to?
Yeah, I mean the consumer for the consumer research, we have a data scientist who's involved for the business
Mm-hmm.
uh, the the business surveys as well, behind the scenes, making sure we're answering the right questions. For the consumer research as well, we typically use sort of third party panel providers
Mm-hmm.
to reach any particular global market, and who can give us kind of nationally representative samples. We on the consumer side, we don't have our own panels ourselves. On the business side, it's a little easier for us. We have as part of the demand exchange one of the largest groups on LinkedIn called Digital Marketing, which we can tap into for business surveys. We have
Mm-hmm.
our own database, which is useful for surveys in the uh, surveys of marketers, but we also rely there on third party panels again, just to make sure we're kind of hitting the numbers we need. It's getting, I think, harder and harder to get people to take these surveys.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think it's so important that, to your point, you're using a data scientist to help not just mine the data after the fact, but make sure you're asking questions with the right survey question style. Is it
Mm.
a likely to not likely, or is it a yes or no question? I know there's a lot of different formats in how you can ask the questions in order to kind of get different data points.
Yeah, there's a danger that you can get the data you're getting back isn't optimal. For example, if you're asking consumers to sort of rate importance out of five for a bunch of different things, and where
Hmm.
five is very important and zero or the one is not very important at all. Quite often, people will just say that they're all important and give them a four or five without giving you much sort of differentiation there. But if, for example, you use a technique called max diff, where you show you keep showing two different things and they have to say which is more important, they really have to focus and decide, think a bit harder about the how they're answering, rather than taking the path of least
Hmm.
least resistance.
Yeah, and it gives you more, again, a more variety of data and kind of rounding out the research to get those different perspectives and ways to measure. And then, so I know from there, you take the data, the massive spreadsheets of data, the output, and your data scientists kind of pulls together some of the analysis, kind of what are your next steps, as you're building that story and bringing in your professional writers to kind of to write it all in?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, you have the hypothesis, and you're developing the story. You're looking at the data, building the story. I mean, sometimes you're reverse engineering it to a degree while still being doing it in a with an independent mind. But you know the types of stories you want to tell, and the emphasis might change depending on what the survey says. But the data scientist will sort of work, in our case, his magic on trying to sort of get under the skin a bit of what the data's saying. Maybe do a kind of driver's analysis to say what's really behind those answers. They're doing. You're breaking things down maybe by company revenue size or geography. You're just kind of trying to get really sort of work on the nuance and to develop that story. And I guess the business intelligence tools and the modeling is getting more sophisticated all the time, so that's speeding things up.
No, that's great. And then for the final output, you work with your writers to build out that final report using that you mentioned earlier. There's no substitute for human writing when it comes to that final production.
Yeah, I mean that's really important for us in the Gen AI. It is useful maybe for doing a first pass at some of the analysis, throwing out some ideas for summarizing some of the transcripts from your interviews, obviously anonymizing them as necessary if you're sort of putting them out there into ChatGPT or Google Gemini or whatever. But as of yet, and that's sort of helped me keeping a job for a while, you really do need the human touch to sort of write the story in a kind of consistent and compelling way. And there are some shortcuts along the way and some economies from doing that, which we're increasingly able to pass on to our clients. But you still, in my view, still very much need human copywriters. And one of the things we're doing more of is you have your, I guess, hero piece of content, but you want to spin out different infographics, mini reports, articles aimed at the different personas or members of the buying group we've talked about.
Yeah, no, it definitely, and I know we've talked a lot about is that the power of that research paper to become your core to your content strategy and content development plan. So it does, to your point, there's so many ways to then use that to create more content, and to continue to use that to differentiate the brand and the output of the data as well. It's really valuable.
Yeah, I mean, you really want to have something evergreen, not just a white paper you put out once a year. You can really bring that to life, as I say, with video, animations, articles. There's a whole range of assets you can use, and then a whole range of channels you can use to distribute, syndicate that content and get the maximum ROI from that investment.
For sure. And so, Linus, thank you so much for your time today and for always being such a brilliant partner to work with. So I look forward to the next time you and I can partner together. But thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Kerry. It's been great.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. For more episodes and to learn how you can boost your revenue, go to revenuebasedmarketing.com. Stay tuned for our next episode, Driving Growth with Account-Based Marketing, how to find and target your ideal customers. And be sure to subscribe to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast for more strategies to grow your business.